Hello and welcome to All About Billings. We are a show dedicated to discovering the people that make Billings a great place to work and live. We will interview business leaders, entrepreneurs, community leaders, artists, entertainers, and just generally cool people who make Billings just a fun place to be. Now, today my guest is Ryan Jore. And Ryan is somebody I've known for a number of years, right when he first got started in his current career as a personal trainer. So growing up, Ryan played several sports in high school, which instilled a lifelong passion for fitness. That led him to pursue a career in personal training as an NASM certified personal trainer. Now, I know a little bit about him because I have worked with him. And I will say his goal is to help people not only look good, but also to feel better, move better, get stronger, and just have a more enriched life. So I'm your host, Nancy Brooke with Billings Best Real Estate, and welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, I am excited to get to know more about you and how you got started on this journey of being a personal trainer.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your high school years, and it sounds like you were quite a sports fanatic.
Yeah, so I played sports, and in my high school, we did not really have anyone teaching us how to lift weights. We just had a weight room, and we just kind of had to figure stuff out. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have, I guess I'm old enough that we didn't have YouTube.
Yeah.
So we just kind of had to figure it out. I made a lot of mistakes as a kid, figuring out like, okay, maybe you shouldn't bench press 5 days a week, and you should, actually train your legs from time to time. But actually the only reason I ever started even lifting legs was I broke my hand punching a wall in my sleep, weirdly enough. And so I had to do something. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to learn to back squat now. And that's the only reason I started actually doing that. And yeah, from there, it's just always been a part of my life since.
So what sports did you do?
Mostly football, and then I played basketball for a while as well.
Okay. And so from that, how did you go from enjoying it as a youngster to deciding to pursue it as a career?
Well, I think it was something I'd always kind of thought of, but again, when I grew up, training wasn't as much of a thing. Again, like the mid-2000s, like personal trainers existed, but it wasn't, like my hometown, we literally did not have one in my town.
Really?
Yeah, so I went to school for a physical therapy assistant because I thought that seemed close enough, and decided that wasn't what I wanted to actually do. But the nice thing was, by doing that, I got anatomy out of the way, I got biomechanics and some stuff like that. So it gave me, when I did decide to shift into training, like I already had something of a background.
And so it sounds like, there's different credentials, right, with personal trainers. Because, I'm not faulting anyone, but some people you can get, like, I decide I want to be a personal trainer, I could probably get a course and do it over a weekend.
Yeah, the barrier to entry is like shockingly low.
So I know your credentials are much stricter and harder to get. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, my main one is through NASM. Again, I don't think NASM is necessarily better than any of the other ones. At the time that I got hired at my gym, that was the main one they were looking for, so I took it. Weirdly enough, with training, you honestly realize pretty soon into training that most of what you learn in that is just to prove that you can pass the test. Like, almost none of what I learned in there do I actually apply day to day with my clients. But again, it's what you got to do to get into the industry.
So what's different about what you learn versus how it really is?
In summary, I guess I would say, like, to not get too nerdy, since this is more of a general podcast or general interview.
You can get a little nerdy. We like nerdy stuff.
Is more like how they program. So with NASM, it's like these very specific phases, like when you're doing balance, you only do balance work. There's nothing but that. Whereas, when you're a real trainer, you realize, like, well, we can do some balance, but we can also do strength, and we can also do some muscle building stuff, and we can make it all fit into one. It's not like everything has to be like hyper specific for every phase. And honestly, most people don't want to probably train that way anyways. Because again, like knowing you as someone who likes to lift heavy, you're probably not going to want to spend like 3 months of just doing stuff on a stability ball versus, if we did your heavy squats and at the end we have you do some stuff, that's a little more manageable for most people.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of crazy. I don't know anyone who would enjoy, maybe there's some, but I can't imagine anyone who would enjoy that.
No, luckily I had been reading enough of my own education prior to taking that test that I even then I'm like, this does not make sense. Like this isn't how people actually train.
Well, and so when I met you, you were just starting your business. how did you even get going? Because it's a lot of word of mouth with this industry.
It is. I got lucky that my wife was working as a part, like in the summer, she was working in the daycare at Granite, so she knew the head trainer there. So he let me shadow him for a day, and then again got to ask him questions like, what kind of certification do you want me to have, and other stuff like that. So then I just basically took the test, and they hired me. So it's all about who you know.
Right, but getting hired really
Yeah.
was only the start, because then you have to start building a clientele, and even if you're at a gym, it's still, things aren't handed to you, right?
No, I was very lucky that my boss at the time, Jore at State Farm, was very flexible with me on that. So I would go to Granite and like train from 5 until 7 in the morning, have a quick breakfast. I'd go work at George's office for a bit. If I had clients, he would let me, go pop over to Granite, train them, and come back.
Okay.
And then after 5, I would train until like 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So yeah, it's the kind of schedule you don't do once you're established, but if you want to build a business, that's kind of how you do it.
So was it, did you have like doubts about what am I doing here?
Oh yeah, for a little bit.
I could imagine that you're up early, you're working late, you
Yeah.
have another job to make it all work.
Yeah, it seemed a little insane in the moment, but and as much as I liked my boss at State Farm, insurance just wasn't my job,
Right.
and training was just something I've always been passionate about. Like honestly, every time I had a spare moment, that's what I was reading about. And not to say that you always have to totally follow your passion, but it just made sense to me. Like even now, like if I'm off work, I still want to be reading about training stuff. It's not something I generally have to force myself to do.
Right, like
it's
you're
just what I
the
care
kind of
about.
person that, you can look at these geeky YouTube videos and I can relate, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that cue.
Yeah.
No,
No, exactly.
It's
It's just an obsession.
yeah. Well, and so how did you go from getting started, having clients here and there, and how did you even get your clients to start?
So honestly, my manager at the time, or my head trainer at the time, Riley, gave me the best advice, which is just like, if you want to get people, you need to be here. So anytime I had spare time, so like on the weekends or after work, if I wasn't training someone or directly at work, I was just sitting at the front desk. You got to develop relationships with members, and it was amazing how many times someone would just come up and be like, hey, I'm looking to get a trainer. It's like, well, if you're right here, it's a lot easier for them to say yes to you versus them giving it to a manager, and then hopefully the manager gives it to you and not one of the other trainers. So a lot of
Right.
it was just sitting at the front desk for hours.
Wow. Wow. And so when did you start feeling like you had kind of turned the corner on your training?
At about 5 months, I had enough people that I went full time and no longer worked in
that's pretty
insurance.
good.
Yeah, so it was relatively quick. Again, I was also lucky that I had a wife who was teaching, so she had a full-time paycheck coming in, which helped. But yeah, I've been a full-time trainer now for about 9 years.
Okay. Gosh, I can't believe I've known you that long.
It adds up quick.
Wow. And so what has been the biggest change from when you started training to where you are now in terms of how you train and what your style is?
Yeah, I think just more variability. Again, like when you're starting out, you know what you know, and you're not always willing to go out beyond that. The longer I train, the more I realize like certain exercises aren't good fits for certain people or certain styles of training. So whereas before all my clients' trainings, or like if you looked at the programs, they all probably looked fairly similar. Like there was individual stuff based on injuries and whatnot. But now, I mean, they are so dramatically different because I'll have, one person that really likes doing high reps, one person that really likes doing low, or one person wants to train multiple times a week. So I'd say it's just the variability of realizing like how you can create something for a client that still works, even if it looks totally different for what works for somebody else.
Yeah, I suppose that makes it more interesting though for you too, right?
does.
Instead of just like
You're not just
having
doing
the
the same
cookie
formula.
cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you definitely still have stuff you fall back upon or like base templates, but a lot of it's just realizing like how to adjust person by person.
Well, and I had worked out at Granite for a while, and one of the things that I noticed is you have your little private training room where you have the group classes. That
Kinda
seems
spoiled
to
there.
be, it seems to be really popular with, people you wouldn't necessarily expect to be lifting weights. Everybody knows, like the young guys in the gym, you see
Yeah.
them, getting pumped. But you have more people my age or younger, maybe a little younger, middle-aged ladies that have kids, and they meet you and go work out, and it's pretty inspiring, actually.
Yeah, a couple of my clients wanted to start working out together a few years ago, and we realized like we could actually make this easier for everyone if we just did like say 3 or 4 at the same time, and then that's kind of what started the women's barbell classes, which now is like 90% of what I do is just training those women's small groups. it's cool because it's more affordable for each person, but then they also get to come more often. And just between like the group camaraderie and just being able to be there longer, like everyone just gets such better results too. So it's just a win for everybody.
So what makes it more, I guess, results? What makes more results by them getting together like that?
I think part of it, even though there's no like direct competition in class, it's not like I'm ever trying to pit people against each other, like jokingly sometimes, but we're never actually competing. But I think it's more like, so if you're, say, a female starting out and you barely are lifting, let's say 80 pounds on a deadlift, well, and then you see some of the more advanced ladies who started at the same place as you did and now they're lifting, 200, 250 or more. It's kind of like, oh, this is possible. Whereas, if you're out on the floor and you just know what you know, you're going to lift what you think is heavy because you don't realize what's possible.
Or even if you're training them one-on-one, they still maybe feel a little limited.
Just something to like seeing someone in person do it. Like you can watch stuff on social media and, we can see women deadlifting like 500 pounds.
Right.
But I don't think that really becomes real to people until you actually see it in person.
And so I've seen like ladies, you do a lot of the posts on Facebook and Instagram and, brag up, people's accomplishments, which is really cool. But it's really fun to see some of the advancements that people make from, like, for example, not doing one pull-up to maybe being able to do multiple.
Yeah.
From not being able to deadlift to being able to deadlift. I mean, that must be pretty fun for you too.
Yeah, it's one of the things where I honestly think is I need to start actually videoing people on day one more often. Because it's, usually we don't video something till they set a record or they do a personal best, which is still really cool. But it'd be really awesome sometimes to like have the video of like, hey, remember on day one when you couldn't lift this? I wish we had video of that to show you like, lifting 3 times that much now or some crazy number.
It is fun to go back because I just look back on like Facebook memories and then I'm excited about something and I'm like, wow. I mean, now I'd kind of feel bad if that's all I lifted, but it is fun when you see a progression, and I think it makes you realize how far you've come.
Totally, and we have a board on the wall like for deadlifts, so it's like if you deadlift over 150, you get on this board 200, 250. And I've had some ladies who are like, well, I'm only on the 150. I don't even want to put my name up there because that's embarrassing compared to the others, but it's like, okay, but compared to the average person your age, you're crushing it, and again, it's like, their number is their number, and eventually if you just keep lifting, you're going to get to that number. I mean, I've had plenty of people like start where we barely lift 150 the first time we max, and then the next time's like 180, and then it's 220, and then it just keeps gradually going up.
So what do you find the most satisfying part of being a personal trainer?
That's a good question. I guess I just like helping people just do better. Actually, I had one of my ladies today who's an older lady who just joined the class maybe 2 months ago, and she was just so excited. She came in, just had to give me a hug because she took both of her 25-pound pegs of dog food today and just carried them into the house. Like, didn't even think of it. She just walked them right in. And actually, that was one of my first client experiences that really got to me. Was I used to train this old lady, Mary Jane, and she was like, I think 83 at the time. Her daughter would help her out with most of the stuff around the house. And then we'd been lifting for maybe 2 months, and she just realized, like, she just actually like grabbed the dog's, it was like a water bucket or something like that, and just did it herself. Didn't even think of it, like wasn't even like trying to do it. And she was just so excited about that she just would never let her daughter help her ever again. She's like, no, I can do this again. Like, I'm not going to lose that ability. And to me, it was just cool to see, like, man, we've been training like half an hour twice a week, and like that made that much of a change in her life.
Well, and it's true though, if you don't use your muscles, and I'm not saying everyone has to go to the gym, but if you just become sedentary, you don't work out, and especially if all you're doing is cardio, through the years you start losing your muscle. And that's probably one of the main reasons why people have things like falls and troubles and and maybe end up in the hospital because they lose their balance. I mean, there's lots of downside, and so it's really inspiring to me that you're seeing older ladies want to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, we have, like most of my classes tend to be in the like early 40s to mid 50s, but we have ladies who are in their late 60s, early 70s, and they're deadlifting 200 pounds or more.
That's amazing.
And it's like, these are not fragile people. Like, actually, one of them, Sue, we joke, she walks every morning, like 5-6 miles every single morning. And there was one day she actually got lightly hit by a car. Like, this guy didn't see her, and he just lightly tapped into her. Didn't even face her. She didn't fall over, like anything like that. And it's like, to be in your mid-60s and just get hit by a car and just move on like it's nothing, it's like, that's pretty freaking cool. But, again, she deadlifts like 225. She's a resilient person. Like, it's it just all those little things like that.
So have you had people that just, like, you can see the potential in them, but maybe they just don't quite want to get there. Maybe they don't want to put the work in, or just kind of do the bare minimum. I mean.
Yeah, and there's that, and I actually did a post about this a while ago, and that's why as a trainer, you realize like how you play with people different ways. So like some people, it's more about like restraining or like holding them back from like always
don't
overdoing
do that
it.
much.
Exactly. So that's even how like I'm gaming it when I give them. So if I say 6 to 10, some people are going to do 6 no matter how easy it is, and some people are going to do 10 even if their leg fell off 5 reps in. So it's like learning, okay, this person's someone I need to always give them the top end number at the bottom, because then that way they'll at least get to that minimum. And then some people are like, okay, I need to hold this person back. So there's trial and error with that, but you as you get more experience, you realize that pretty quickly. Like, okay, this person needs to be prodded. Like, I'm going to almost force her progression versus this person. Like, I'm going to hold her back from herself type thing.
So when you have people that really do want to make a change, but it's sometimes hard to get started. How do you get over that hump to even ask for help or to start weightlifting? Because it can be really intimidating to go into a gym.
It can be. Again, that's why I love training. That's also, I think, one of the reasons that women love the small group at our gym is it's an enclosed room, so it's just less threatening. I mean, there's windows, but like all the doors are shut, so it just feels like a safer environment. I've had numerous people over the years saying like, I would never have done this class if it was out on the floor, open air, but like just being in there, you just feel safer, you feel less judged. And again, I'm really sure I'm very strict to make sure like we're only doing things correctly. Like I will stop someone if they're doing it incorrectly, because that's obviously one of the reasons you hire a trainer.
Right.
But people like that reassurance of knowing like, am I doing this correctly?
Right. Well, and I know like people sometimes go into a gym, whether it's men or women. I mean, usually more women have this experience, but you go in and it's just intimidating because you see these people, they know what they're doing, you feel like you're going to be a fool, you're going to do something wrong, you're going to hurt yourself. It's like a challenge. It's a mental mindset. So what would you say to somebody who wants to get started and doesn't know how to get started?
So in that situation, I would generally say like just working with the trainer and she can be helpful.
Okay.
I also do online training, and that's helpful for a lot of people who either financially can't make in-person work or just schedule-wise they're never going to be able to make it work. Because same thing with that, it's like when I'm setting someone up with a super basic online program, we're only going to give them stuff where I know they're confident doing it. So ideally, if there's someone locally, like we're going to be at, like they're going to come into Granite, we're going to show them each of the things they're going to do. That way they at least have some base understanding of it. And then we can always build from there. So that's again where like one person's program may look totally different. We're going to train all the same muscles, but it's like this person's doing a back squat and this person's doing, let's say like a dumbbell squat, where it's like, I know they can safely do this. There's very little to think about. Like they say with learning stuff, we want to be like always on the edge of our capabilities. So we don't want something that's like so easy you can just fall asleep doing it. But at the same point, if you're like falling over constantly trying to do it, that's probably past the limits of your capabilities. And most people just tend to get frustrated and quit then. So it's like we always want to find something that's pushing them just enough, but not too much.
Well, and I like what you were saying about sometimes it's just progressing and it's just like week after week, you will get stronger. I mean, it's just a matter of if you expose your body to it and consistency. Well, and that's one of the other things I've seen you talk about on your Facebook posts, that you can have that drive, but if you have the drive and you're not consistent, you're not going to get results.
Yeah.
Where if you're consistent and you have a bad program, you still might get some results.
Exactly.
So,
there's a lot of bad programs that have led to good results just because someone was just bullheaded enough to just keep working hard. It's like, and again, as a beginner, almost anything is going to work. So that's what's cool. It's even, again, as if someone also couldn't afford a trainer, it's like you could literally just start at home by doing push-ups, or some, even if you're too say big or too old to do push-ups, like even leaning against the wall and doing like a wall push-up or something like that. There's so many entry points. It's just a matter of figuring out where's an entry point for you that's challenging enough, but doesn't have you like scared.
So how long have you been in Billings? So you grew up in North Dakota. I don't think I asked you that.
No, I think I've been here like 12 or 13 years, somewhere in that range.
So what changes have you seen in Billings and the personal fitness industry? Because it's changed quite a bit in 12 years. And even in 2000, there were personal trainers.
Billings has a lot more options, I'd say now. When I started in training, like, again, you kind of keep an eye on who all the other local trainers are and stuff. And I just feel we definitely have more variety now. There's definitely more online training than before. Even at Granite, so when I started there, we must have had like at least close to 8 or 10 trainers who that's all they did. That was their full-time job. And now for the most part at Granite, most of we have a couple people now who are full-time again, but we had a period where it was basically me and one other guy were the only like actual full-time trainers. Everyone else had some sort of side gig as well. So it, everything kind of trends up and down, but it's just more variety overall as to what you have access to in Billings.
So how has Billings responded to personal training? Do you feel like Billings is pretty open to it?
Yeah, I think pretty well. I mean, they're definitely opening plenty of gyms. I mean, it seems like every other week there's a new like personal training studio or some sort of boutique gym or, like Fuel or any of the other bigger gyms that are in town. So there's definitely a lot of trainers, and which is also cool because then that way, regardless of what part of town you're in, there's someone fairly close by. I mean, like I do have, like my mom drives in from Shepherd to come train with me, but that's also my mom. Like most people don't want to make that whole drive down. So it's
Right.
like there's the Y and there's other places downtown. So there's kind of something no matter what part of town you're in.
So what type of clients do you enjoy training? I mean, do you have like a favorite type of training you like to do?
Yeah, again, I want someone who wants to get stronger, but so when you talked earlier about the people that only do cardio, I love training the people who like that was their previous mindset, as long as they're open to change. As long as they're open to change and like being, okay, we're gonna keep doing cardio, but we're gonna substitute some of that with strength or add on some strength work, because those people just see results so easily. Like it's not a lack of working hard, it's just they were putting too much into one bucket and not realizing they needed to diversify a bit. So it's crazy sometimes how little you need to add to some of these people for them to just actually see changes, which is always fun.
So what do you think the, I guess, expectation somebody can have if they're just getting started with training? So a lot of people want to get started, maybe they want to lose weight, they want to get rid of, flabby arms, or, I'm sure you hear it all.
Yeah. I would just say being prepared to actually commit. A lot of people like the idea of having a trainer and they like the idea of the results, but then they just kind of look over like the work to get there. Because again, most people, it's like, once you've been doing a habit for long enough, you're going to stick with it. You do see people like they either stick with things and they go good right from the jump, or it's like they kind of half commit, and then those are the people that tend to fall off quickly because they don't realize like, oh, this is going to be this much work. Again, I train numerous realtors. One of the things with a lot of realtors realizing is like, okay, I need to be able to get in multiple times per week, and I need to like make sure this is a part of my schedule, and I'm not going to be constantly canceling it because I had an appointment or something like that. I think a lot of people are actually busier than they realize they are. So like they base their schedule on like, well, when I have, they base it on their easiest week. They're like, well, I could do 4 times a week, and it's like, no, you probably should start at like maybe 2 or 3, and then we can always build on that. I guess that's the easiest thing to say is just start with less than you think you need, because we can always add, and it's a lot more motivational to add on additional days versus if you start with 4 or 5 days and realize you have to cut back. A lot of people will quit right then because they're already demotivated by the fact that they had to do less than they thought.
Well, and it is true because people can get really busy during the day, and unexpected things can happen. And I know a lot of you have the ladies in the morning too. So I mean, if you have a job, unless somebody's really inappropriate, they're probably not going to be calling you at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, my 6 a.m. classes are pretty darn consistent because outside of like a sick kid or something like that, not much comes up at 6 in the morning. It's just realizing like, okay, am I committed enough to get up at 5:30 or whatever time I have to do to get there?
Yeah, and so the business itself, it sounds like it's grown even more than you anticipated to start.
Yeah, I mean, I never know what the exact number of clients I have. I know in the women's classes we have 37 people right now. And then so between that and online, it's probably somewhere in the like 70 range for overall clients. So that's a lot of people. That's
a lot of people,
and
to keep track of.
Yeah, it's a lot of paperwork, but again, I love programming, so that's not an issue for me. Like again, that's something I just love nerding out on. And that's something I used to do sometimes, even if I was just bored, was just like writing up sample programs just because that's kind of fun to me. Or like I get a wild hair and be like, okay, how would this look on paper? So I need to like write it out to figure out if I like that or not.
So when did you realize that you maybe made it as a trainer, because obviously you were striving for a lot of years, or for a while anyway.
Not really sure if I ever knew an exact time, but I'm also that person, like I always just assume like I can do more anyway, so I don't know that I'll ever actually truly feel like I've made it. I always feel like, well, I could do this a little better, or I could, add on a little bit here.
Right.
So I like to always be growing.
So always be growing. And what about a time, what would you say has been, a disappointing time, or a time when you kind of reflected and had to maybe change things in your business?
COVID.
So actually, really a good point.
Yeah, it was shortly a disappointment, and then long term became a great thing. With gyms being shut down for, what was it, like 2 months or something like that, I had to switch a lot of people to online. Prior to that, I didn't really like the idea of online training. Like, well, like I need to be there in person. I need to be making adjustments. And COVID kind of forced my hand on that. It's like, well, there's no other option. So it was kind of a trial by fire of learning that. And I'm actually very glad that happened now, because now that's probably half of my income. And then also it's something where I can actually take vacation and still address my clients and stuff like that. And I learned how to get better even with my in-person clients, like, okay, I'm taking vacation. Here's how we're going to set you guys up so you can still get your stuff in.
So you actually write their program for them, even
Yep.
the in-person.
Yep.
So do they still go to classes when you're on vacation?
Yeah, so again,
cool.
I have a great setup at Granite. I'm very thankful for that. My manager still let the ladies come in. So, again, they've got the hour reserved for that time, so I'll text them all their workouts. If there's something specific I want to see on video, I'll tell them, hey, I do want you to video this so I can watch it back later to make sure we're doing all right. But again, with most of my people, they've been coming to me for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. So I feel confident in what they're doing, so I'm not worried about them, if that makes sense. I'm only giving them exercise where I feel like, okay, they know how to do this, they can set this up, they're safe, they know how to write down what they did and whatnot, and we can go from there.
Well, and I suppose there's more experienced people in the class that help as well.
Yeah, again, that's one of always my favorite proud coach moments, is when I'm helping someone else so I can't get over here, and I watch one of my other ladies actually help the other person. I partially love it because I just love that they're confident enough that they know what they're doing to help that person. But also, when you coach something, you learn that skill better. So it's like, you're teaching that lady to squat, you're actually now getting better at your own squat, because you're having to think, okay, how do I actually think about this when I'm doing it? So that helps their learning process as well.
So are you still passionate about working out yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I'm still training. At this point, my home gym is all I train at. When you're at Granite, however many hours a day I'm there, it's kind of nice to be able to just put on my own music, not be bothered by anyone. So our garage has literally nothing in it but a gym. We totally took everything out. It's rubber floors. We've got a squat rack, cable machine, kettlebells. I mean, it scares me to think how much money I've spent on it, but it's plenty.
That's your passion.
Yeah.
That's your passion.
But as my wife said during COVID, she'll never complain about it again, because when the gym shut down, we still had barbells, we still had kettlebells. We just kept on training from home. So the fact that we were able to do that buys me some leeway with buying more stuff in the future.
Well, and you mentioned your wife, Brittany.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So she is kind of a fitness fanatic as well. And, well, you have a young daughter as well, but obviously she's not lifting weights yet.
Not planned weights, but she'll just randomly just come pick them up.
Okay.
So she's with me in the classes sometimes briefly, we're waiting for the daycare to open. And it's funny how many times she'll just watch someone lift and she'll just go pick up a kettlebell, or, never anything heavy, but she just lifts it, and as long as she can lift it, I'm fine with it. And it's shocking how good a form she has just from watching other people. We've never told her to lift a weight. I've never showed her how to lift a weight, but she just watches strong people around her, and she's like, oh, well, I see them do this, so I'm going to do this.
So I'm going to do it too.
Or she'll take her little pink dumbbells and
so
press them overhead.
Tell us about your goals that you have for yourself.
I just would like to see the business keep doing what it's doing. That's always a hard one for myself to say, I guess. I just basically everything I'm doing now plus more.
Okay.
I guess I'd say just continue to see people get stronger, and just expand that.
Well, so how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in finding out about personal training?
So JoreStrengthTraining.com is my website, and then I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is Ryan Jore PT.
Okay. Well,
but easy to find.
That is wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure having you and asking you all sorts of interesting things, finding out things about you. And everybody, it's been great having you join us today. I'm your host, Nancy Brooke with Billings Best Real Estate, and we hope to see you next time on All About Billings.